Hey everybody, welcome to Highly Unlikely with Josh and Jenaye and some special guests today. They're always special. These guys are extra special. Actually, I'm so intimidated today.
Oh.
You know why?
What? I'm not, so I must not have any fear of man.
I'm not afraid, but this is Dillon and Holly Wilson, and they're so cool.
You guys, well, yeah, I definitely don't feel cool.
You guys
they're
cool.
just really cool, and I'm not cool. So.
Yes,
come
you
on.
are.
I would agree.
You guys
that.
are amazing.
Yeah.
We love you guys. This
We're
will
happy
be fun.
to be here. Yes.
Yeah. So, but we're gonna start with a question from
I haven't
the
even
dish.
read it. Oh.
Uh-oh.
You guys are trendy people, so I'm gonna really love this.
I don't know.
What is the worst trend you've ever taken part in?
Oh gosh, Gigapets.
I think it was the zip off sweatpants
See, I'm too
in
old.
elementary school. Did you guys have those?
Wait, the
You
shorts,
zipped them off?
the shorts and the pants
Yep.
combo.
I did those.
That comes in handy for recess.
no, right?
I mean, seriously.
I know, right?
Yeah,
That I did.
yeah. Because in
All the
Texas,
things now are back.
it gets really hot at recess. So
That's
being
so
able
true.
to unzip is pretty cool. I'm trying to think of the worst one. Do you have one?
I was gonna say your mic's probably too close to your face. Sorry.
Oh, I want to make sure they hear me.
So yeah. My worst trend was the first thing that popped into my head was, do you remember those owl necklaces that everyone wore?
Yes,
Like,
I was
they're
obsessed with
long.
owls when we first met.
Yeah, they're long and they have
Yep.
like the beaded eyes.
Yes.
And they're like
I
black
don't
and
know
the
what
body
they're
is like
talking
separate
about.
Yep.
pieces. I
Owls
would say
was-
that
was
or
cool.
it
It's
wasn't
very
bad
obvious
at the
you
time.
guys are all a different generation.
It was
than
very
me.
Yeah.
cool at the time, but like the Toms shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved those so much.
Yep,
but
Christian
I'm pretty-
festivals, music festivals, they're
Oh,
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, it was like the total
Yep.
hip thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Toms.
I don't regret that. But I mean, that was something that kind of came and went pretty
What's
quickly.
sad about mine is that y'all's is like, oh, when I was a kid, oh, way younger. Mine was like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Come on, tell us.
Okay.
So I'm getting older. I've hit 30.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting older and I'm losing my hair. Okay, and I wear hats way too often, so it doesn't help because like my hair never gets to really breathe. So I'm
yeah.
losing my hair, okay? And I wanted this really cool haircut that I saw. It was like a European style haircut. It was like on Peaky Blinders and stuff. It's where they have like the shaved head right here. So not like a high fade like this. It's like where it was really tight and shaved, like a bowl around, kind of like a bowl cut, but
Interesting, yeah.
cool. And I saw a lot of European people
See how
doing
cool
it.
he is?
Well, I turned really non-cool really quick because I got the haircut and she was so nice. We were just newly married, so I think she felt too nice to say something. Now she would tell me, "Go get that recut immediately." But I tried to do this bowl cut thing, and it was receding hairline, bowl cut. I look back now and I like cringe.
Did you
Yeah.
rock it though?
Mad
Like you
hard.
did it?
We were on tour together. It was
I'm
the
embarrassed.
first 3 months of our marriage. And he goes, I think I'm going to get this haircut. And I was like, yeah. Because he'd show me the inspo pics. And I was
The
like,
inspo
yeah,
pics were
this would look
amazing.
great.
Right. It worked for that. Yeah. Situation.
Yeah, it did not work for me.
Not-
I'm very, very cringe. Maybe I'll have to, maybe on this podcast, we
Yeah.
can pop up like a picture of it.
Yeah,
I'll send
right.
it
Put
to
it in
y'all.
the show notes.
Something.
That's
I'll
what
have
I
to
always
find
say.
it. Yeah. Put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
Bad haircut.
Could text your mom, see if she has
Yeah.
pictures. Well, I guess it wouldn't be your mom. It'd be you.
Yeah.
Pictures,
probably actually. Because
Yeah.
it was, it wasn't terrible, but it was borderline.
That's where you need a trusted individual to do your hair. Like mine's a good
Yes.
friend. We call them our hairipists.
Yeah.
And once I was like, I think I want to do these kind of bangs. And she's like, no. Like literally wouldn't let me do it. And I was like, I think, you do really love me. Thank you
Yes.
for not
Yeah,
letting me
thank
do
you
that.
for
A good
helping me.
hairstylist is, seriously, they will
Hold
change
the
your
line.
life.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
That's awesome.
that is funny. Did you say you're bad?
Well,
Trent?
yeah, when I was in like middle school-ish or a little older, everybody got Tamagotchis or Gigapets.
What
had
is
that.
that?
It
Is
was
that
like
the
this
little
little
pet on a
yeah,
keychain?
yeah.
pet on a
Yes.
keychain that you had to like feed throughout the day and stuff.
Yep, I had one of those.
Would it beep at you and it was hungry or something? Like I feel like I
Yeah.
remember getting up at night or something if something happened.
I just remember
Yeah.
mine was like green and,
Yep.
and that's like the dumbest thing, but everybody was doing it.
They had that one, like when Nintendo DSs came out,
Oh
there was
my
this
gosh,
game
Pets or something?
with dogs. And I
Really?
forget what it was called, but I was so obsessed with that game. I was like, my dog, it was a Shih Tzu. And my dog he's gonna live forever. And I took care of that thing every day. And I look back,
Serious?
I'm like, how much time did I waste
Yeah.
doing that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
wild.
mean, but I now
Dragging the
am
food
trying-
with the little stylus
Seriously.
over to
Taking
the
it out
bowl,
to
dropping
pee
it.
on the app, taking the dog to pee on the app.
Wow.
Probably would have taught you. Maybe it taught us
Why?
responsibility. Maybe. I mean, but now
That's
as a
tragic.
parent, I'm trying to find those kind of technology things for my 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Like I got him like a retro gaming
Oh,
console
cool.
for Christmas because we're like, we don't want Wi-Fi, all these things.
Yeah.
Like, I just need those, what we had
Yeah.
Yes.
for him now. But yeah,
And he thinks he's got a
He
game.
does. He thinks he
but
has, like, a
doesn't
Nintendo
realize,
Switch.
Like,
Yeah.
it's $40 on
Totally.
Amazon,
All
you
the
know.
other
No, that's
stuff.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I also did do the trend. Oh gosh, I don't even know if you guys remember it. Maybe you do. Where you'd wear your tank top on top of your t-shirt.
Totally.
Yes, and then like 4
What
layers.
about a layered? What about a cami under the t-shirt, and then you bunch the t-shirt up on the side and tie it with a hair tie?
Oh yeah, but the tank
Whoa.
always had to be cami had to be longer.
Hey, you went
Yep,
you
or
went
lace.
deep into like the thick
Yep, the
belts
lace
outside
bottom.
of the shirts too,
Absolutely.
right?
I wore
The
thick
what?
The
belts
thick leather
over all my
belts, like-
dresses.
Oh my gosh,
on the
yes.
dresses and
I don't know
stuff?
if I went that far.
It's very
but it was
southern too,
trendy.
though. Like that was big in Texas. Yeah,
I'm from
Yep.
Ohio. I'm not from Texas, so I don't know what
Yeah.
was happening
from
with you
Ohio.
guys. I'll
was
tell you
big.
right now, it was not.
I mean, I didn't
look.
partake in it. I've seen some adult pictures of you, though.
Yeah.
It's too
Yeah.
funny.
You guys, we did a 90s like team night with all
Oh,
our dream
wow.
teamers.
that's
And
fun.
Naomi, who's sitting on the set, was like going around showing everybody, like, no, here's how you roll your jeans. Here's
Oh.
what is like
The
rolling your
90s
jeans back
trend
in the day.
expert over
But
there.
Yeah.
you wore your actual clothes, right? Like it. Yes. Like she pulled it
That's
out of
amazing.
the archives.
That's
It was great.
amazing.
Still got it.
Yep.
Still got it from
So
the
That
90s.
is actually inspiring to me because I need to start saving clothes now because they're going to be
They'll
cool
come
when my
back.
daughter is.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
It will.
16.
For real.
Be like, this is real vintage.
Yeah.
These are called barrel jeans. These are called.
Oh my,
Oh my gosh.
Well,
that's
for
so
the
funny.
record, when your daughter gets older, your parents were cool. They were
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
So
you
she
were.
ever
When she's
listens-
watching this,
Yeah,
yeah,
you can
yeah.
replay
We'll
it for
establish
her.
that. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about because
Yes.
we want to talk about your guys' separate journeys. You're getting engaged, getting married, and then I really want to get to like the things that you're doing like today and you've done over the last 5 or 7 years that are like unconventional.
Right. Highly
Cool.
unlikely. There's
Yeah.
some highly
I
unlikely
love it.
trends in both your stories, which
So-
we're excited to get into.
So why don't you both like take turns and tell us your backstory, like before you
Okay.
met each other?
Yeah.
Dylan, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So my dad's Pastor Scott. He's been on this podcast?
He has been, yeah.
Okay.
Both
so my-
your mom and dad.
Oh, that's
Yes.
fun. Okay, my parents have been on this podcast. So I grew up as a pastor's kid. Very similar church to here, like
Yeah.
an Assemblies of God church. So I was a mega church pastor's kid.
Right.
I really enjoyed it. I liked it. And my dad handled it very well. Like he was the best pastor dad ever. So I don't have any of like the horror stories or like, oh, it was
Yes.
bad. My dad was more incredible at home than he was even at the church. And he
That's
was incredible
awesome.
there. So
Yeah.
I have nothing but greatness to say about growing up as a pastor's kid. I love growing up in the local church. I got into sports really heavily, and that was going to be my thing that I knew I was going to do at a high level. Now, am I the most athletic person ever? No, but I got really smart and double clicked on a few things. What I mean by that is like I double clicked on one sport. I was like, okay, I'm going to do
Yeah.
football. Then I double clicked again and I was like, I'm going to be a kicker on the football team. And so I went and sought out anything that I'm passionate about. I find the best people around and learn from them and glean from them and
Yes.
ask questions. So I found kicking coach, got private lessons starting like 7th or 8th grade.
Wow.
And became one of the top kickers around and actually
Wow.
received a full ride scholarship to Kansas State University. And so,
Okay, wait, were you post Kleiman or like was Coach Kleiman your coach?
no, he wasn't, but he's from
later.
here,
He
right?
was a North Dakota State coach.
Yeah. Okay.
wow.
So I was with Coach Bill Snyder, who was
Okay,
before
yeah,
him,
yeah,
who was
yeah.
like a Hall of Fame coach.
Wow.
And he was like, he's awesome.
Yeah.
But he was like 75 to like 78 years old. You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah,
when I
yeah.
was there, like in that season.
Wow.
It was his second stint. He was already in the Hall of Fame when I got recruited there. He
Crazy.
came back out of retirement to like I played for him for 5 years, and then
Wow.
Kleiman came.
Okay.
But every year they went to a bowl game, so he has 5 bowl rings.
5 bowl
That's
rings, Big 12
crazy.
championship. When I joined the team, we were number 1 in the country. So like imagine being with your football team, eating in the cafeteria in between classes. You look up on Sports Center, and out of the
Wow.
top 10 things they're going to talk about, you're like 4 of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
featured in like the next 4 conversational Sports Center. It's
No way.
insane. It
So-
was wild.
This is big sports culture up here too. So like people are gonna want to know what your rings are or like what the
Yeah. So
what bowls
like,
Yeah.
okay, so out of 5 bowl rings,
are the ones that matter. I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, my favorite one is winning the Big 12 championship. So like, I'm from Texas. So
Yeah.
when I went to a Texas game, I remember like in 7th grade, I went to a University of Texas game, 100,000 people
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
in the stands. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to be on TV. I want to play Texas because Texas was the team. My parents grew up in Austin, so Texas was the big school. I was like, I either want to play for them or play against them. Well, Big 12 conference, they're in it. We played them 5 years. It was awesome. I reached the pinnacle of like, okay, I want to get there. So the Big 12 championship, we actually beat Texas to win the Big 12 championship at home. It was awesome.
Wow.
Then the best bowl ring, like at a bowl game, is we beat Michigan in a bowl
Which
in a bowl
I'm
game.
a Buckeye fan because I grew up in Ohio.
they hate Michigan.
So when he told
you're all
me that
for
they
it.
beat Michigan, I said, I don't care what school
She
you
knew
went
she
to.
needed a Mary
As
Meeting.
long as
Yeah.
you beat Michigan,
Yeah.
that's
But
fine
out of
by
five bowl games, we lost 4.
That is so
Okay.
We only won 1.
Yeah.
But you still get a ring. And you
Yeah.
still get a
Yeah.
bowl
But you
ring.
did the
It's
Cotton
awesome.
Bowl, the
Fiesta Bowl, all of them.
Yeah.
Like it was
So
It was so
fun.
cool. So,
yeah, what an
so for me,
experience.
when I got there, though, it was very life-changing for me because I got there and, again, I got a 4A scholarship as a kicker, like unheard of. That story is crazy. My
Right.
dad's awesome. This is just so cool. And it speaks dividends to how amazing my dad is. He took off a whole month of a summer between my junior and senior year. And we talked to my kicking coach. And at that time, like we knew like I was good enough to get on one of these teams, but you got to get lucky. There's a lot of
Yeah.
great players that just never get the opportunity. So you got it. There's some luck in the right place and the right time involved.
Yeah.
And so my dad and I were like, we're going to get ourselves in the best position to hit that gold.
Yeah.
Like you got to get lucky. We're going to put ourselves in the best position where
Right.
preparation and opportunity meet.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had prepped, but I need opportunity. So we went and found the schools that were offering kickers that year that were in need of it and looking for one. So we traveled all around the country. I went to like 10 different schools, basically went to their private kicking camps
Yeah.
and kicked with their coaches. At Kansas State, I kicked that morning. And 24 hours later, they offered me a full ride
Wow.
on the spot. Unheard of. I never heard of them doing that.
Wow.
Ever, anybody else in the 5 years I was there. So
Right.
I kicked. They saw me once, offered me right there.
That's
Right.
awesome.
Like a godsend. It was
Right,
crazy.
right.
So me and my dad got to do that. But once I got there, I for the first time in my life, I had freedom. My parents aren't around. I can do whatever I want. I lived in a co-ed dorm. I mean, all of that mixed together, it was a bad recipe for me to get in some trouble and to sway away a little bit. And I did. So for like 5-6 years, like I identified as a Christian still.
Right.
Like I still believed in Jesus, still would call myself a Christian, but like very rarely attend church out till 2 a.m. Like
Right.
I was just very party mode during that season. And the more I partied, the worse I did on the football field. So it was a horrible trend and cycle because I wouldn't perform well with the expectations that were on me, that I put on myself or the coaches had from me. I wouldn't perform well. So the worse I performed, the more I wanted to party because at least I was getting noticed and seen and valued there,
Yeah.
being the cool party kid.
Right.
And so I'd party more, but then do worse at football. It was a bad cycle. So I was there 5 years, redshirt and 4 years to play. About 3 years in, I had enough and I knew God had called me to something
Yeah.
and was really like pulling on my heart and saying, Dylan, I want relationship with you. Like not outside of your parents, outside of the Oaks, outside of all this. I want to be with you. And I'm right here when you're ready. And I finally said yes, that had a real relationship and encounter with Jesus for the first time in my life as an adult. And like for myself, not just like pressured
Yes.
from external circumstances.
Yeah, it was your
or whatever.
faith, your
It was
decision.
my faith, my decision. And so I helped with a church plant actually, and Assemblies of God Church, a CMN connected church. Basically, for everybody watching that doesn't know what I just said, basically a church very
Yeah.
much like Evangel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the same heart and same life as that, and same as and my dad helped start it. And we started a church in my city. Every week I would play. So we'd have a football game. We're playing the University of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And we'd play them, even if it was a traveling game. Let's pretend I traveled. So we're playing Oklahoma. The game started at 7. That game's not done till 11. Then you'd have to fly home. And there's like private jets, all of that. It's awesome. So you fly home with a team on a jet. You get home at 2 a.m. I was stacking chairs at 6 or 7 a.m.
Yeah.
because it was a portable church
Yeah.
in a
Set it around.
elementary
Wow.
school and stuff.
Was this the
like that.
Hartmans?
Yeah, the
They had a
Hartmans.
huge
Yeah,
role. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
Troy and Lacey, Rock Hills Church in Manhattan,
Yeah.
they started it there, and I just got to be a part of the team there. And so I got to bring my friends to church. So instead of being the magnetic party guy, now it's the magnetic come to church with me guy.
Yeah.
And so I got to bring all my friends. And during that season, my dad saw that in me of like, dang, you're like really connecting a lot of your friends to church. You're really getting involved. Like, come back. Once you're done with college, start the young adults ministry at our church. So it started from nothing. It was scratch. Like, the young adults ministry didn't exist. And so I got to start that and learn how to build a community and establish culture and create something cool that people wanted to go to on a Thursday night. They have a lot of options. They can sit home, chill, relax. Totally understand that. They could go party with their friends. They can go see a movie. They can do anything. Why would they want to show up to a young adult service on a Thursday night? I had to really pray and God speak to me on like, how do we create something where not only is there life change that's able to happen, but first of all, there is. Once they get in the door, I know life change can happen because God, you can do that.
Yeah.
But how do you even get them here? And so how do we make it where they want to show up? So got to establish that and do that for a couple of years. During that time, I loved fashion. So I started a fashion company.
Wow.
One of the most pivotal conversations I ever had with my dad is, I started a fashion company. I go all in on anything I'm passionate about. So I went all into this where I was showing up to work at the Oaks, 40-hour a week, full-time job. 30 out of the 40 hours I was spending on my fashion stuff. I was in my young adults pastor office working on fashion stuff. Yeah. And I knew that was not fair. Yeah. I knew that was disrespectful to the season, to my dad, to the church, to the position. And it just kind of got out of hand. Yeah. And so I talked to my dad and he was like, hey, you're falling behind here. In a high-driven leadership culture like the Oaks or any organization, you're going to get found out quick. And so my dad was like, you're kind of slacking behind here. What is this season for? You need to go pray about it because I'm about to have to fire you. Like, do you want to be here or not? What is God calling you to do? And I felt like God said, hey, starting a fashion company and creating a culture and community of people through a medium and lens such as fashion and outside of the walls of the church is something that I put inside of you. That's a gift I have for you. Yeah. But it's not the right time or the right way. Will you lay your dreams down at my feet and do you trust me?
Wow.
And the thing is it was trending up. It was like going really, really well. I already had the second collection in my mom's garage, printed, fashion show, models, the whole drop was planned, a party, everything. And it's really easy to say, oh yeah, I'll give that up if it was tanking and no one was buying the clothes. It was the total opposite. It was going good. Yeah. And God was like, hey, do you trust me? We lay it down. I knew I had to do it. I gave the clothes away. Actually, it was really cool. I gave the clothes away to a nonprofit in our community that gives clothes to foster and homeless kids in the city. And so what they did is they set up a back to school like bash shopping night, and it was all brand new clothes. Wow. Some of them for the first time being able to choose and shop brand new clothes and not hand-me-downs. Wow. And so all of those clothes went to, and they had like, it was called Love You, the brand at the time. They did a Love You pop-up shop. I thought it was for 20-year-old streetwear models, but it actually ended up being for foster kids in the community. And those pictures were so much cooler than any model could have been wearing those. Yeah. So gave the clothes away, leaned into that season. I'll say this because it's this biggest conversation I ever had with my dad. He said, what now? Yeah. I said, I don't know yet. I don't know. I just feel like I gave up my biggest dream. Like I'm very upset. I know I'm supposed to be here at the Oaks. I know I'm supposed to finish the season and serve well. But I don't know. Like I'm so upset. He's like, all right, give me like your biggest dream. What's something you want to do that's like crazy? And at that time I answered like this. I said, I want to be on Breakfast Club, which is actually a podcast just like this. And it's a podcast and it's a very secular podcast, but they have Christians on sometimes. There's some pastors and stuff I'd seen a bit on there, but it's based out of New York, really big podcast. At the time it was like the biggest podcast. And I said, I want to be on there because anybody who's on Breakfast Club is shifting culture and is a voice that people are listening to and is making a difference in this world. Now, do I believe everything that everybody says on Breakfast Club and are they shifting culture in the right way to me? No, but they have some sort of impact where they're on Breakfast Club. I said, I want to be on Breakfast Club. He goes, okay, you've sent me some interviews from Breakfast Club. They don't just T-ball you questions. They like push, especially when Christians get on there and pastors. Like they're really pushing it. He goes, here's the thing. Here's Breakfast Club. It's way up here. Right now, you're growing like this. He said, what you have to do is you're going to have to submit to a trajectory shift of growth. So that way, not only are you able to hit Breakfast Club and not miss it, you're able to hit Breakfast Club and actually say something that matters. Yeah. Wow. Right. He goes, because you're just thinking about sitting in the seat. But what are you going to do when that mic hits your lips? What are you going to say that has impact? And I was like, okay, there's a trajectory shifting to happen. So I went and got my master's degree at Southeastern in theology and leadership. Really like did my best to like kick butt as a young adults pastor and lean into that. And probably like a year later, felt like the grace was shifting again. Yeah. It was May. I told my dad, I said, December 1st, I'm done as young adults pastor. I'm going to start a fashion company again. And he goes, yep. I'm with you. We don't know how it's exactly what's going to work, but God always shows up. I feel the same peace now that you do. Green light.
Wow.
Cue my wife because she's about to come into my story.
Yeah.
We'll give some context to her.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's such
Shifting
a good
culture. That's you guys.
Yeah.
What you're just saying
Thank you.
about that.
We're trying.
Definitely.
We're trying to. I think it's just been a lot more preparation than our own agenda would have been. But it's been very character building, and like, I know that's such a generic thing to say, but like character building, identity shaping, really like been through the fire and been through the ringer with different people, contexts, businesses. Like, it's just been a crazy whirlwind since we've been married, but even before that. My story is a little similar to Dylan's, where I feel like I was entrusted with a lot right out of high school. But growing up, I'm from a really small town in southern Ohio, so it's not like the rest of Ohio. It's kind of like Appalachia. I grew up in Chillicothe, Ohio, which is kind of like the gateway into Appalachia. And so growing up, my dad, he got
Can
called
you describe Appalachia for people? Like, what's different
Appalachia's
about it?
like, it's not the South, but it's not the North. And it's very rural, blue collar. A lot of it's like lower middle class into, like, there's a lot of poverty. There's like a lot of, not the whole area. It's a beautiful area, amazing people, but it's kind of like a mix between Hillbilly and like Gilmore Girls feeling.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how that works.
I would watch that reality show.
Yeah.
I liked Gilmore Girls. So,
Yeah. You have people that are definitely from like city that moved down because it's an hour south of Columbus, but then you have very rural, you know, like hardworking, hands-on people. So anyway, so came from an amazing family. I think the thing Dylan and I have in common is our parents always championed us, but they never pushed us into something that they felt was like knowingly unhealthy. Like, oh, you're gifted in this area. We're going to push you to be like the best of the best. Like they weren't pageant moms. Like they weren't, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think that was a very healthy place that I grew up in. My dad got called to preach when I was like 8 or 9 years old. And so my entire life, I grew up in a very small like country church, definitely not charismatic at all. I think we were like a mix between like Nazarene and Wesleyan or something. And I don't even know what that means. So I don't really care. I was just like, okay, I love Jesus and I know Jesus loves me.
But you have the best stories ever from church camp, from your church experience. Like,
oh, totally. I always heard the voice of the Holy Spirit, and my parents did as well, but we just really didn't have, we didn't like dwell in like the gifts of the Spirit or like having dreams or like prophetic, like nothing like that.
Yeah.
So when I was 15, I, you know, from like 8, 9 years old all the way to 15, I sang at fairs and festivals, and I kind of got started in that when I was 9, and there was a newspaper ad in my local paper, and it said, hey, anybody that wants to do this, we're going to have, my county was called Pike County, we're going to have a Pike County Idol, and the prize is $300. And I remember seeing it in a Walmart parking lot in the dash of my mom's car. And I was like, I want to do that.
how old were you at that time?
I was 9. I was like, I want to do that. That would be so cool. And
$300 to a 9-year-old.
Yeah, let's
for
go.
real. It's so much money.
$300,000, you know?
I mean, I gave my son a penny last night, who's 8, to try a new food.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal to him.
and it was just
wow.
huge. Yeah.
And then I took
I'm
it back
using
when he
that
left it on the
technique.
counter later. So.
Exactly. But I always had this very weird confidence. Like, I don't think it was like a diva thing at all.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
always had this confidence of like, I love doing this and I'm not sorry for it. Like whenever I would step on a stage, I just felt like this power in my chest. Not, I mean, it was cool that people would like look at you and stuff, but it wasn't for that. I just felt like I was made to be on stage. I
That's
loved
awesome.
acting when I was a little girl. I loved singing, like any type of play, but it was all around church. Like I didn't do anything outside of church. So I won that competition that I entered at 9.
So she was 9 going against 18-year-olds. We were with a guy the other day. She did like
way.
a Christmas concert in her hometown, like home for the holidays. And the guy opened the concert and he goes, hey, everybody, I'm opening for Holly. I remember when I was 17 years old and this 9-year-old beat me in a
come
singing
on.
competition. And that is her. And
Pike
now
County
I'm opening
Idol.
for her.
That
I
is
was 17 and I
hilarious.
lost to a 9-year-old.
Yeah,
So
that's
she
awesome.
won.
No way.
Yeah.
No, he is so sweet with that, but Anyway, long story short, I took the money that I got from that and I told my parents, I said, I really want to make like a demo CD because the thing in my culture of Southern Ohio was there was a ton of country churches. Southern gospel bluegrass was like the thing to sing. That was worship music. Like there wasn't we didn't listen to Chris Tomlin. We didn't listen to like, maybe my family would listen to contemporary Christian music, but we were like the Isaacs, the Gaithers, the Crab family, the whoever. And so that was my cup of tea. And I didn't really know anything outside of that. And so I made a demo CD with this guy from Southern Ohio, and his name was Dan Ward, and amazing guy. And my mom's side of the family, they do Southern gospel music. So like we asked them like, how do we go about this? And my parents matched the $300 that I made. And I went and made this demo tape at 9 years old, 10 years old with these like
you should see the cover. We should pull that up.
Yeah,
so right now in my hand is
these.
Holly's cover. The 9-year-old is so cute.
Yeah.
Her with a little ukulele.
It's a mandolin, but
a
it's
mandolin,
fine.
sorry.
Anyway, so fast forward, like from 9 to 15, I did a worship group with my best friends in junior high and high school. I did, I started getting into like my own vibe of music. So like I did R&B and like pop songs at fairs. I would like enter all these competitions and I just started winning. And so I'd be like, I'm just going to save money for school. And so I was a very like, I would say I was a very innocent, like good girl in school, but I like knew what was up. I knew what was going on. But I'm like, I feel like there's a very weighty thing on my life and I don't know what it is, but I just want to connect with people through this medium of music. But it kind of freaked me out to pursue it because I saw a lot of like child stars or like people that started around the same age that I was, like 15, 16, that were just like getting into things that ultimately I was just afraid of. Like, I don't want to disappoint my parents. I don't want to disappoint the people around me. And so I remember my friends and family came to me when I was 15 because I was obsessed with American Idol growing up. Like when it was at its peak, I was obsessed with it.
We all were. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. And I remember just saying like, oh, that would be so cool, but I don't know if I would ever do it. It's not that I didn't have the confidence to do it. It's just I felt like restricted to do it, like on purpose. Like I just don't feel the peace to do it. And one night I was talking to my parents about it and they were kind of not like mad at me, but like, why? Why would you not want to do this? It would be so cool. And I remember feeling, no, I'm not supposed to. The next morning I woke up and just had this peace about it. And so we found out like where the nearest audition was, went and auditioned for it. And out of, like you see on TV, out of like the 15, 20,000 people that show up in Charlotte, North Carolina, you know, there's only maybe 20 people that make it to Hollywood out of those 15,000. And there's tons of rounds and all of that of like narrowing down the people that get auditions in front of the judges and all of that. And so I was one of the 20, however many people that made it out of like Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow.
And I made it to Hollywood Week and went through that whole thing. And that was a crazy experience, but we'll save that for another time.
So at 15 years old, she made it to the top 48. At 15 years old.
Yeah. And I remember getting cut from that and I felt very confused because they call it Hell Week because you don't sleep for 3.5 days and they want that so that it makes good TV, you know? So you're like
That's
delusional.
crazy.
You can't remember lyrics. You have to come up with dances. You have to work with people you don't know. And so I was 16 years old, 15, 16 and super stressed and just tired. I'd never been to LA. My wardrobe was not cool. I mean, I was just this innocent 16-year-old. And so I remember leaving the venue and this bodyguard, like scary bodyguard, was like running after me and my family. And I was so exhausted that I was just crying, like just a stress response. It wasn't, I wasn't upset. I was kind of glad to go home. And he runs up to me and chases me down and says, hey, there's a reason that you're not supposed to be here. He's like, I've been watching you, not in a weird way, but something about you. I've been watching you all week and I've listened to you and you sing. And there's something about you, like this next door that opens for you.
Wow.
That's what you're supposed to do. And you're supposed to just run full-fledged through it. And I like heard him, but I remember thinking like, I'm so tired. I think I know what you're saying, but like, thank you so much. And then we just left.
Yeah.
Kind of to speed things along, get home. We didn't know how much of my story was going to be shown on American Idol. So we were like, best case scenario, people Google my name, go and see if I have music anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think at the time I had like MySpace was still a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so my dad was like, you
my
should just
gosh.
post some covers on YouTube so people know where to find your stuff.
Yeah.
So every single day, I got eliminated in December of 2012 or 2011, 2012. And then January and February were when like the show was coming out. And so every single day for like 2.5 months, I put out a cover on my YouTube channel. And it was like me and my phone just recording. And I remember maybe late January, early February, I took my youth group to Winter Jam.
Yeah.
And Toby Mac was headlining. It was in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, you go to Winter Jam every year growing up. And I remember we went back to the VIP thing. Hey, if you're a youth pastor, come backstage. The artists are going to talk to you guys and like give you some inspiration for your kids, you know? And my youth pastor was like, come on, Holly, I'm going to take you back there and we're going to meet somebody and tell them that you are an American Idol. And I was like, no, like that's embarrassing. But okay, I'll go with you.
But okay,
So-
if you
No,
make
please,
it
I'll go.
Please stop.
So we went back there and I remember, seeing Toby talk or whatever. And then we went back out and we were in the nosebleed seats. And I just felt for the first time, like almost audibly, like in my chest, that in 2 years you're going to be
Wow.
on stage. And I like didn't know what that meant. I just felt like, wow, wouldn't it be really cool to mentor or like be a mentee of somebody like a Toby Mac or somebody that was in that arena like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know like what type of music I wanted to do or what my voice would look
Yeah,
like or sound
right.
like, but I just knew I think this is something that God's asking me to do. And before I was just a little kind of confused on that. So I went home and told my parents, hey, I think I'm going to work with someone like Toby Mac one day. And they were like, okay, like, what do you say to your
Cool,
kid?
yeah.
Like, oh, that's sweet, honey. And so I was like, yeah. And then 2 weeks later, because again, my town is super small. Anybody that does anything that's like out of the ordinary, everyone's like, go Holly, like they're just so supportive. And I went and did this interview at like Good Morning Columbus or something. And I come home and I go back to school at high school and I'm sitting in class and my mom and dad are texting me and they're like, hey, you need to come outside right now. Like come outside, just ask if you can go to the bathroom. And I'm like, my parents never give me permission to like break the rules. What's happening? So I am like, who died? And I'm running outside and my dad is like bawling, crying. My dad does not do that. And my mom is like hyperventilating. I'm like, someone definitely died. And they're like, hey, Toby Mac called your dad at work.
How many weeks was this after you went
2
to
weeks.
After Winter Jam, after seeing
way.
him.
And I said,
tour.
what do you mean? He called dad. Like, how did he get his number? And there was a guy, he passed away this past year. The sweetest man ever. His name's Rick May, and he used to play drums with DC Talk. And he's from Chillicothe, my hometown. And his best friend and my dad's best friend in high school are the same person. So I just didn't know that.
And he texted Toby and goes, hey, you should check out this girl from my hometown. She has YouTube covers and stuff.
No way.
Excuse me. Yeah. So when I was at Winter Jam, Toby Mac knew who I was.
Oh my gosh.
And she didn't know it.
Yeah.
He had already heard of her. He was already like scouting her out.
No way. Did you
So-
know that his drummer?
No, I knew
Was
nothing.
from your hometown?
No, I knew
No
absolutely
way.
nothing at all. So I get that call, right? And he messages me on Twitter, asks my parents' permission to reach out to me. He reaches out to me. I'm 16. And he's like, hey, would love to talk to you about songwriting and stuff. Are you guys free, February 22nd to come to the Cincinnati show? I was
Of
like,
Winter Jam.
I was
the
like-
same tour she was just a fan attending. He's like, come
No way.
backstage with me.
I was like, yeah, let me ask my parents. So anyway, we go to the show and he's like, bring your guitar. I sing one song for him. I think it was like a Justin Bieber song. I sing one song for him and he's like, I want to sign you to my label. And I want to do, like, they came up and drove 6 hours to Ohio, spent time with my family.
Wow.
All of that to say, for the next 2 years, my junior and senior year of high school, I went down to Nashville my junior year once every month for a couple days to write songs. And my senior year, I went for 1 week every month. So I missed like 50 days of school.
Yeah.
My senior year. And I moved to Nashville a week after I graduated high school. And I put out an EP in October of 2015. I went on tour with Toby Mac and opened for him on the This Is Not a Test tour from October to December. And then did it again the 2016, 2017. So that like really started my career. But that's the very, surface level story.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I went from literally just being a Southern Ohio kid, just like, oh, this is fun, to somebody calling you from the place that you just thought was mundane, like, oh, I'm just doing this for fun, to where God's like, no, I have a greater purpose for this. And that kind of started the whole journey.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Get to it to where like you're about to meet me. Like,
oh yeah,
like-
yeah. Okay. So
so for years you toured with Toby.
yeah,
and did
yeah. Well, for like a year,
Music,
solid, I opened for him. And then I
starting
started.
then, you had would it be stage name or like artist name Hollyn?
Yes. So whenever
Okay.
I signed and everything, we started the process. I signed in 2013 and I had to deal with American Idol that I couldn't sign with anybody or do anything for at least like a year.
Okay.
So after that was up, I signed with Goatee Records. And I think that was the fall of 2013, or don't quote me on that, but something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then whenever I'd go down, we're like, how do we want to do this? Like, how do we want to release it? Who do you want to write with? Here's all of our artists. Here's all of this. Here's all the resources we have. Like, we just want you to do the best that, we can offer you. And so I remember like 6 months in, a year in, I started feeling this random, to me, shift in my heart of like, I don't think this is everything that I thought it was going to be. And it didn't have to do with anybody else. It was like a certain, I wouldn't say distaste in a bad way. It was just like, oh, I thought that this is what I liked and I don't. It wasn't like a fad or something like that, a very unhealthy, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this.
Right.
It was more of a holy weight that all of a sudden I felt like a deeper sense of, who is Holly and what is my voice and why am I just writing songs to get on the radio? Like, am I writing songs to connect with people? Am I writing songs to point people to God? Am I writing songs for my own therapy, my own process? Like, what does that look like?
Right.
And I didn't really have a safe space to digest that well with anybody. And I didn't have any like emotional or mental boundaries with a lot of people. It was very
Well, how old
hard
were you? Were you
to,
18?
I was 18.
Who
Yeah.
has great boundaries and
by herself,
Exactly.
living in
Yeah,
Nashville, touring,
yeah.
living on a tour bus.
Yeah.
Probably working
but
with
nobody
people
else
who
is
were,
her age.
much
Yeah.
older
Everybody's
than you.
all,
Oh,
30, 40, 50,
And let me
Yeah.
say this. Everybody that I was around was so pure.
Yeah,
so
they're
amazing.
incredible, yeah.
But there are
Yes.
things that God calls you specifically to that other people cannot see in the moment, and they might not know or be the right person to steward it.
Right, right.
So I was so hungry to find people that would just get even a fraction of what I was feeling in my
Yeah.
gut,
Yeah.
which was, I don't think outside of Toby, and like, again, no disrespect to anybody else, but I just wouldn't invite my friends to come to these shows because a lot of what they're listening to is not who I'm on the road with. And that wasn't a bad thing. I was just like,
And we're not
I-
even talking about Toby and them. We're talking
Yeah.
about like different shows we would do. We'd be like, dang, our set's awesome, but this just maybe isn't the
it would
specific
turn
niche
people
genre.
off that weren't used to.
We couldn't invite our
Yeah.
non-Christian friends to the
Right.
to these
Well,
her own concerts.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of young adults go through a moment of like coming into your own.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you even see like famous pop artists where they turn this
Sure.
corner where you're like, oh, they're a little out from under their label now, and they're actually showing who they truly are. And
Yep.
sometimes
Yep.
that's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a super disappointing thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So when your songs are on the radio and things like that, like Christian radio, were those songs you wrote, or was it like you were given these songs?
It was like a joint effort.
Okay.
And I will say, like, in the beginning, all I knew is that I loved Jesus, but the range of music that I was like accustomed to, I was just very trusting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, this worked for these many people. So I should just follow suit
Yeah.
and I'll figure it out later, which I wish I had the capacity to go back and say, actually, I don't want to say this. A lot of the songs I would write would be about relationships I was in or like heartbreak or process and stuff. And then we would throw in Lord. And I'm like,
to make it more Christian for radio or something.
I don't want to do that, So I think there were just things where I'm like, am I not good enough in my own process? Like, I'm not going off the rails here. I just want to create a safe place for other people like me. Like, this is life. This is music about life. Like, is that enough? Like, I just never felt like I was doing enough or like saying the right thing, really. And anyway, there were people along my journey that were just very encouraging to me. I remember I had this one friend out on the road with me, and he was a producer, and he would just sit and listen to me vent about it and then actually help me write songs in that process that I'm so proud of even today.
Yes.
And that was like 2016, 2017, 2018. 2018 comes around. I had just broken up with a guy that I was very serious with, that I thought, okay, I could marry this guy. January 2018, I was single, and January and February, I decided to take a sabbatical from touring. I had never stopped touring for like 3 years, and felt like God said, hey, I would have dreams of me being on a tour bus in the fall from September to December, and I would wake up like in a sweat. And I didn't have dreams like that very much. So I knew, okay, either this is from God, like let me pray into this. So January and February, I took a sabbatical, prayed about it, and I was starting to get offers for tours in the fall, because that's like how you make your money and how you pay your team. And I just felt like God said, say no. And anybody that doubts my spirit in you and the reasons why you're saying no, you need to kindly let go off your team.
Wow.
And so that was very intimidating to me. So I started making moves.
As a 21-year-old business owner.
Yeah, I started very graciously and the best that I could, having conversations with people on my team of like, I really strongly feel like God is asking me to take my fall off, and I need to do it, and I'm going to do it. Are you okay with that? And I had a lot of pushback, but ultimately I said no to tours that would offer me twice the money, 3 times the money, 4 times the money.
Because that was like her peak. Like that was the peak of like Hollyn so far of like radio plays, popularity.
So at that same time, were you kind of in the same season of
exactly.
laying
It's
down?
about to connect.
Yeah.
Because guess what? In that same year, God says, hey, Holly, don't take a tour in the fall. God tells me, quit your job in the fall.
Wow.
So we don't know each other yet.
Yeah, we don't
She
know
just
each
must
other.
love crush. Yeah. I literally just listened to her music and crush on her on Instagram and creep.
No way.
I know her. She don't know me.
Yeah, come on.
Well, what's funny
That's
is
so
that
funny.
same year, maybe like in March or April, one of my friends, who was the mutual friend that connected us, she mentioned Dillon to me, and she had mentioned him before when I was dating another guy. And she was like, every time I see this guy, I think about, like, I see your face. And I really think you guys would just be friends. Like what you're doing is very similar.
Yeah, if you can't tell, like it's like, whoa, y'all carry the same weight. Like y'all talk the same.
right.
Y'all dream the same.
And
Yeah.
she lived in Dallas, so I knew like
She went to my church.
Yeah, I kind of knew
For a
about
time,
that.
yeah.
So anyway, that was 2018, the beginning of 2018. I decided, no, I'm not going to do any tours in the fall. In April, I bought a house in Nashville, and I was settled there. I was like, I'm going to be here. And then August rolls around, and there's no sign of anything happening. And God's like, take the fall off. I'm like, for what? I'm in my house. There's
She's
no
bored.
furniture.
For the first time in 3
Right,
years, she has nothing
seriously.
on her calendar.
Yeah. And I'm like, God,
Yeah,
I'm
what's
so
next?
angry with you. Like, I was just so honest. Like, why did you tell me to do this? I look like an idiot.
Yeah. And
I'm at the top
That's
of my
hard.
game. Like,
Yeah.
I'm making music I'm proud of. Everyone in my industry that works for me thinks I'm insane.
Right.
And I believe you, but you've got to help me out here. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm just sitting around. And I'm like, forget this. I mean, I was mad. I'm like, forget it. I'm going to call my friend and I'm just going to go visit her. Cause she was like a big sister, like mentor type thing to me. So I called her, same person that connected us, drove down to Dallas in the middle of the night, get there. And the next day she goes, do you want to go to this church or this church? And I chose the Oaks because I was like, oh, I'd been to the other one. Let's go to the Oaks. So we go. On the way there, she says, hey, do you remember that guy that I told you about that has the young adults ministry here? Him and his dad, they work at the church. His name's Dylan. He's going to be here today. Like, I'd love for you to meet him, like, yeah, sure. And I was such in a headspace of, God, what do you want? Like, I'm following, like, I was so in. I wasn't thinking about,
what do you want? Were you thinking music?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
like
She wasn't
career.
thinking, she had just broken up with someone.
Yes, right.
I didn't really want to be in a relationship.
Right.
I mean,
Did you know
did.
she was coming to church?
No, I got a text just like, hey, Holly, you know, she in this text, it sounded like this. Hey, Holly's here. You know, the artist Hollyn that you think is super cool. She's here. That's it. And it was just like that.
Yes.
And so I wasn't nervous or anything.
Right.
I went up to her, and here's how the conversation went. I went up to her. I said, hey, my name's Dylan. Nice to meet you. She said, oh, she's told me a lot about you. So nice to meet you. I said, hey, your songs 5 a.m. in Tennessee and Girl are like 2 of my favorites. Like,
And
your
that blew
music
my mind because those 2 songs
are not the popular ones.
are not ones that would get approved ever to be like released to radio. They were like my favorite ones. And so when he said that to me, I was like, oh, that's cool that you know those. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, I play them all the time. Like they're on my personal playlist or at the Oaks. I just want you to know I'm a fan.
Yeah.
So we met each
It
other.
was done after that.
Yeah.
Hook, line, and sinker.
No.
I had her.
We met each other. And then after church, he gave me a tour because they had a brand new building. And I had never been in a church like that. I was like, this is huge. Like, wow, it's so cool.
Right.
And he was showing us around and we were just bantering, like just friends
Yes.
immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yes.
oh, this guy's so cool. So nice. Like, oh, I get why Katie said I'd be friends with him. You know, that'd be cool.
Yes.
Was he
And-
flirting or was it just banter?
It was chill.
No, it was chill.
just
No,
still-
no,
okay.
it was not flirting.
We didn't cross over yet.
because we get to the coffee shop in the church and he goes and like talks to this girl. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's talking to somebody.
I was
but I
talking
didn't
to someone
think,
else at the time.
I wasn't thinking like, oh, he's so like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
so dreamy.
right.
Like he was
Yeah, right.
very cool and cute, but I wasn't thinking, I'm not here to date people.
I think that's
you know?
beautiful I just think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it was like very, very, very mature and different than anything. It was not a fling or a thing or he's hot, I just want to go on a date with him. Or was it to me like, oh, I just
No.
want to hit on her and flirt with her? It wasn't. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, the calling on your life. Oh, wow. Yeah, like we've been friends for years, but it's only been 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was so smooth. So then my dad never does this. He goes, hey, I invited that artist Hollyn to come over for lunch. You want to come over? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I went over there.
Which I'm
And,
like, that's so Scott.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Totally,
But like
totally.
after he speaks and stuff, he's not like wanting to hang
drained.
out.
He's
you
tired.
know?
True.
It was
That's
after
so
a
true.
Sunday, so it's not normal. So he
That's
invited
so
her over.
true.
We hung out. And I'm in this complex thing of, like I'm talking to somebody else, but this girl's really awesome. And I handled the other relationship really well. Like I didn't flirt with her. We did not text. We didn't do anything. But I kindly let go of the other relationship because I knew like, hey, this girl's,
Yeah.
seriously, like after a week, I was like, okay, this girl's going to be my wife.
Yeah.
And then she, remember, she didn't take a tour. And so she has no obligations. You know,
Well,
she
and the
cleared
biggest-
her schedule.
The
yeah.
biggest thing that I was praying for in that season was community,
Yeah.
people around me that I can like actually plant myself somewhere or like with certain
Right.
people. And I was praying for a husband, but I didn't think like,
It would happen like
you
that. Yeah.
so anyway, they really poured into me on that trip. And so when I drove back to Nashville, I was getting super emotional, just thinking, I don't want to go home. So I called Scott and I said, the whole week he's like joking with me, like,
Oh, he
you
starts.
think my
he's the one
son's
that's
cute?
like,
You
hey,
think- I'm
so
like,
you meet my son?
no.
Yeah, he
Wasn't
works
there
out
this
and
moment
stuff.
though
And
where
like,
she
at
was
the
like just
keyboard or
playing
something.
piano?
Okay, so this
at
is crazy,
their
okay?
house?
Oh,
So-
yeah.
I feel like
So-
they told us that story
it's
separate
huge.
or
So
something.
that's a
Okay.
huge part. Okay, so I'm sitting there, and my dad goes, "Hey, can you just play something for us? We never heard you sing or anything, and can you just sing for us?" She's like, "Yeah, sure." She's facing the wall, like how the piano was set up in the
Yes.
room. It's just like in the guest bedroom.
Yeah.
I can't see anyone.
She
I'm just
can just
singing
stare
to
at
a
the wall.
wall.
She's just singing, and she sings like a worship song and
Yeah.
stuff. And all of a sudden, I promise you, like almost audibly, and this does not happen often for me, I felt like God said, "She's the one that I have for you. This is the girl that you've been waiting for." And I look over to the left, my mom's bawling crying. I look over to the right, my sister-in-law's bawling crying, and both looking at me. And I'm just like curled up like in a ball like this. And I'm just like, okay,
Be
this
chill.
is it. This is
chill.
it. Yeah, be chill, be cool. You got to
I'm
get her
just sitting
first.
there
you know,
like playing piano, and Scott's over in the corner like, oh yes,
Yeah,
Lord.
yeah.
Like,
He's praying. Like,
Yes,
Dad
God.
has nothing to do with it. Dad's just
oh,
praying
the
and
reckless
loving
love
it. Yeah.
of God,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, this is kind of crazy. Like, what's happening? And so whenever I called him.
And my mom felt the same thing. So she'll tell you that she felt like God was saying, hey, that's your daughter.
Yeah.
Like that's about to be.
So whenever I called him and when I was leaving, he was like, this is what I said. I said, hey, can I come for the fall and just be at your church?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be my pastor for the next 4 months? I don't know. Like, I just need to be somewhere and I need to get recharged
well,
so I can like get back out into the music. Like,
her next tour was Winter Jam,
Yes.
of all things.
Right.
Winter Jam keeps coming into the story. It's crazy. She was one of the artists on tour for 3 months in January at Winter Jam. Okay,
For the next year coming up.
The next year. So she said, I have 4 months off. Can I come can you just pour into me? And he goes, yeah, you don't have to sing. You don't have to do nothing. Just hang out. Be with us. And he goes, my son's here too. You know, that's a plus. So about a week and a half later, she moves down. 2 weeks later, she moves down. And honestly, like long story short, we just hit it off. And we start dating pretty soon after. I very respectfully, cut off the other thing. And I was like, okay, I just met my wife. And so we start dating. We meet in August. Hello, nice to meet you. First time ever to meet each other. We get married in December.
On New Year's Eve.
On New Year's Eve. Of the same year. Most people are like, oh, that's really cool. A year later? No, 3 months later.
So you knew pretty much like right away.
We both did.
So did you feel that same thing? Okay.
I'm more aggressive, and I like to
right.
flex. Like I came in and swoop her off her feet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Swept her.
Yeah.
Swoop. I swooped her off her feet. No, I swept her off her feet. But like we both knew. So we got engaged in November and then married in December. So remember, I already was quitting my job. I didn't know why. I thought I was going to work at Starbucks. She becomes my sugar mama, and I just tour with her all around the world. She had 100 shows booked that year, all around the world.
Yeah.
We traveled everywhere.
What a first year of
cool.
marriage.
We had to, if you've ever seen inside of a tour bus, it's about the width
bed.
of
This.
smaller than a twin bed. Smaller. Maybe half the size of a twin bed.
We're newlyweds sharing it. Hey, ready?
No,
44 shows, 3 months long. Sharing up space this big.
So listen to this. You have to ask the bus driver if you can share a bunk with somebody because like no one does that. So for safety reasons, you have to like ask and make sure he's okay with it. So we asked and they're like, yeah, he can come out. And so for the first month and a half, we slept in the same bunk. I mean, it was like
people didn't believe us. We'd be on tour and other bands would be like, so you got a bunk? I'm like, how'd you get one so late? You didn't reserve a bunk. How'd y'all get a bunk? And they go, we know we're sharing. They're like, no, you're not. And
you can barely fit in yourself.
We're sharing. You become
like,
A+
we're in the honeymoon
snugglers.
phase.
So do you guys
my arm is numb every night. Like I'm waking up.
Here's my question. Do you still
and we're
sleep like
newlyweds.
this? Do you still sleep like this? Or now that you have your own bed, are you like opposite ends?
Hey, more than ever, we want our space.
Yeah, I bet.
We're not like,
you're like
maybe
Scandinavian.
some couples listening are, but we're not like, come cuddle with me and lay on my shoulders. We go to bed. Props to you if you're watching this and doing that. Wow.
Yeah.
But no, we don't do that.
Scandinavian sleeping, which is we have each our own blanket. Like,
that's fun.
Like
it was
Scandinavian
literally
sleeping.
like, it was 2 weeks into marriage, and I was like, I'm sorry, I need my own blanket.
He
There's
goes,
this wind tunnel down the middle.
Wind tunnel.
And I
Yeah.
can't
Stop.
I know.
Wow.
It's
No, that
it's
makes
a way of
sense.
sleeping. It's like
Makes
two
sense.
comforters that are twin comforters, but
No, yeah, that's amazing.
yeah.
I think for us,
Wow.
it was really funny because about 3 weeks left in the tour, one of the bands goes, oh, we have extra bunks.
Bro. They
One
go,
of the
y'all been sleeping together? We have an extra bunks on here. And
We
God,
looked at them and I was like, we were friends at the time. By that time we were friends.
Yes, yeah.
And I just looked at them and I said, I'm so mad
and
that
happy.
you didn't tell me this, but thank you for telling me because my neck.
Yeah, we had 5 chiropractor
It's so
appointments.
jacked up.
We're all like this. And walking, hey guys, welcome to tour. It was terrible. But it was.
What?
I mean,
Oh my
it really
gosh.
was. It really was a freaking dream. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Every night you wake up in a new city at a new arena.
Well, you
It-
two
it-
both
it-
just seem like adventuring
Yeah.
people,
you're
right?
in a new
Like,
city. You're every morning you wake up. Where are we today? Oh, we're in Charlotte. Okay, cool. Where are we? Oh, we're in Tampa, Florida. Oh, where are we? We're in Oklahoma City.
Wow.
You just find cool coffee shops and we're touring. So that was 2019 for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, we've kind of gone on adventures together.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
I became an entrepreneur and started that fashion company I always wanted to start and did that for
Yes.
4 years. I just now transitioned to something
Was
else.
it the same name?
No, it's changed name. So it was like Love You at one point, then it was You Are, then it finally transitioned, which was my favorite name, to Jonas. It's our daughter's name, but it's our favorite character in our favorite book. And so
cool.
it transitioned to Jonas, but I did that for 4 years in trailblaze and entrepreneuring, owning a fashion company and selling clothes all around the world. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And then Holly's just been writing her own music and continuing to find her voice. And I will say this, and I am a very bragging husband. She's writing the most incredible music, like game changer. Like I told her yesterday, I don't care the music we're about to release. I don't care if nobody listens to it. We have to release this just for us.
Right.
Like this is a stamp on your destiny. This is music that will outlast you forever.
Wow.
It's so beautiful and so amazing. God's hand is all over it, and I'm very proud of her.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
That's very
Side
So
note
exciting.
When
Yes.
have you told people when you're releasing music?
That's what we're trying to figure out, like all the details of like practically how
Bro,
we're going to get it out right
27
now.
songs are done.
Wow.
Now it's just now it's 27 songs. It's like now it's you got to cut them down.
Yeah.
How are they going to release all of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
They're
Even
so
Take Heart.
amazing.
I don't think this will come out till like middle of June or like even.
Yeah.
This is pre-recorded too.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
I think
That's
we're trying to
exciting.
shoot for August
Yeah.
for like 1 or 2 of the songs to start
Yeah.
coming out.
We'll play y'all some after.
Oh my
Go
gosh.
back to them,
yeah.
I know
I'm
last
just really
time you were
excited.
here, you were telling us just about some really neat opportunities. But I think
Yeah.
too, there's a little part of your story which you guys obviously navigated together in marriage. But so when you stepped away from like contemporary Christian music, is that what it is? CCM?
Yeah,
Is that
CCM,
what it's called?
Yeah, no, that's
Stepped away from that kind of genre vein. I know we'll
we're
wrap
fine.
it up. It's fine.
I'm fine.
Sorry. I
I didn't know how long your episodes are, so
You know, if Josh is in control, 45 minutes.
It's fun. This is
But
fun.
usually I thwart that. But
Okay.
it's fine.
Has anyone ever done this on a podcast?
Done what?
Take a break because I'm about to pee my pants.
Oh. we can.
We can.
No, like genuinely.
Well, go. There's
Go.
one right there.
There's one right down. right there.
I'm about to pee my
We're
pants.
gonna-
We'll
pause.
just keep talking.
Or just let
It's
this be a
fine.
part
yeah,
of the
literally go.
blueprint.
Yeah.
I've
I'm
left
going
for
pee.
no, I've left for appointments.
Oh, it like hurts when I stand
Yeah. Okay. Remy, can you show them where the guy's bathroom is? Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Can we please just
Straight
have a
down.
white screen on the podcast that said Dylan bathroom break? Like,
sorry.
But yeah, so just I think we don't have to get into the whole part of it because I think you explained, like, obviously the Lord, there's like a weight on your calling. And even from the get-go, you're like, I don't know if this is what I
Yeah.
want to do or the kind of music I want to put out. I think what I would want the listeners to hear is maybe what has been the biggest misconception with you choosing to go away from that genre of music? Is that the right word, genre?
Yeah.
Honestly,
Maybe you could bring I think what's like heartbreaking to me is that normal everyday life, like feelings that everybody goes through, like as a follower of Jesus, we are to submit everything we are to him. And I think so often there are people in roles that they might not be graced for when it comes to like worship leading or
just come back
contemporary
in.
Christian music. Like for me, I'm not disqualifying myself from this role, or maybe it's something God has on my life, but I never felt like I'm supposed to pastor people into like a relationship with Jesus and like have this like come to faith moment at my show and like,
Yeah.
you know, now worshiping at church or like being a part of this is my local church, this is my
Yeah.
house, like I will serve, I would, you know. But me as an artist, the older that I've gotten, I felt like I wasn't allowed to ask questions about this whole like complex
yeah.
industry thing without feeling like almost a little bit like I was being naive or being immature. Like, why wouldn't you just be grateful for the opportunity you have? Like, I was kind of set on this track I could see what I would become.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And I would have the resources to maybe pivot, but like the decisions on the way up the ladder, they would be watered down from what I actually wanted to do. And so I've decided with the grace and mercy of God guiding me in that, of I didn't ask to deny myself of the opportunity that I was given, you know, if you want to call it that. But God almost like put me on this other path of, I want to do it the right way with you. I'm not saying I'm saying right way, meaning I think there's been a lot of artists and a lot of people that they have said no to the church out of jadedness and like, well, the church doesn't get me. The church doesn't accept me. I'm not allowed to be creative this way in the church, but the world will. So I'm going to like, forget the church. I'm just going to go make mainstream music or whatever.
Right.
And then there's some people that are like in mainstream world and they come into the church and the church is like, oh, yay. Like, welcome to the Christian industry. Like I've seen super popular artists in country or pop or like rap, like they come into Christian industry and everyone like applauds them and they're like, oh, this is amazing. But then when somebody that has pure intentions, like a good heart, and they're actually asking the right questions and doing it in a healthy way, wants to create an organic audience that people can come in, feel safe, but they also are not denying like where their truth comes from. It's like, I follow Jesus, but I want to create an environment, an atmosphere where you can come in and experience something where you're leaving going, what was that? You know? And I think
not
requires
so overtly.
Exactly.
Through,
but
like,
that requires
or,
relationship. Like you look at these girls that are listening to Taylor Swift and it's like they dissect every part of her life. Like they go in and they're like, oh, this is what she meant by that. And this is what, you don't think people would do that with an artist that like has something behind, like a wind in their sails.
Yeah.
It's like, I just think that there's been a lot of people who unknowingly have done it in a jaded way or like a bitter way. And I felt like God kind of put this burden on my heart to take the long way around the mountain.
Wow.
And I have not seen barely any fruit from that, but I know it's God. And I feel like the last 7 years of my life, I've been hidden and I like invalidated, unaffirmed, just in a very
It has
weird.
not looked like how we thought it was.
It is very. It's been very gut wrenchingly. I would say from what people would call successful, like the opposite. But I know beyond anything and like any kind of doubt or anything, like every time I've tried to quit, I'm like, I know God's called me to this.
He won't let her.
But he won't let me. So I'm like, okay, there's something to this. But I just really feel like that there's a space that is being cultivated. And I think other people are probably doing this too. But I see it in my heart and in my mind and like I'm preparing it and I'm actually like building it now of like where people can come and see something they've never seen, experience something they've never experienced.
And they leave asking questions.
Right.
And it's actually
And those questions
healthy.
lead
Yeah.
to the Holy
But it's
Spirit.
emotionally healthy. I'm not writing as a victim.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's theologically sound.
Yeah.
But you're processing things that every single person. So no matter what you believe or where you're from or whatever, you're going to come in. And if you follow Jesus, you're going to be inspired to go deeper with him. If you don't know him, you're going to leave
being
going, that was
invited.
different than going to so-and-so show.
We feel
So
like
that's
we're
my
called
heart.
to the both end, the narrow
Right.
path of the both end. And I don't
Yeah.
think many people can trailblaze or trek that path. It's very narrow. And it's when you're going up that path with a machete, you get bloody.
Yeah.
You get cut up. It's long. Dehydrating. It's long. But we're
Right.
willing to do it. And I don't think there's any other path we would choose.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I
And
think-
together.
Oh, yeah.
It's much better.
I think there's something very beautiful about like, because you guys are both charismatic, gifted, like connected enough to be able to like rule whatever kingdom in a way that you wanted to. Like you could have climbed to becoming one of the best CCM artists that's known out there. Like you could pastor or create something in the Christian kingdom where everybody would know your name because
Right.
We know, I mean, I could name 5 people that know everybody. That would be some.
Those are fast
somebody.
tracks for us.
Yeah.
If we would say like
Exactly.
Christian music, pastor world, that would be fast track.
So that's
for
what I
both
want
of
to
us,
say is there's something actually very beautiful about being able to say
Obedience.
like, I'm not going to take that easy road that maybe is going to be more
Thank you.
financially secure, more And even in the church, like the church is so beautiful, but they're also the very best at saying, Hosanna, crucify him.
Totally.
Right.
You know, and like when they understand and it looks how they want, they say Hosanna. When they don't understand, it doesn't look how they want.
That's an amazing way
Totally.
to put it.
They say,
Exactly. Yeah.
crucify him.
I think
you know?
that's the heartbreaking misconception.
It is.
That's what
is-
I asked her. I said, what has been the greatest misconception of you leaving CCM?
Yeah.
Oh, what a great question.
Is
Yeah.
why do you assume it's a bad reason?
Mhm.
And
Oh my gosh,
why
we've
aren't-
had that when people transition off staff. It's like, well, what happened?
But people kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
they
exactly.
like, they
and
like
why
drama. They
won't
want
you
to know.
just
drama,
like
yeah.
actually
Or
listen
why is
to what
we're
I'm
not
saying?
doing or how we're saying it not as holy as you?
yeah.
Just because we're not saying it exactly how you would, or we're saying it in a very poetic way, open to more people through clothes and through
Yeah,
music.
right.
It's
I think people
still-
get scared when you say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm going to go out into the world," and it's like, do you not know that greater is He that is in me than He
Yeah,
who is in the
right,
world? And
right.
first of all, like I'm not trying to go into the world and be like, I'll do whatever it takes to be
Yeah.
If I wanted to be famous, I would have kept doing what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And so to me, what brings me like not even peace, just like fulfillment is knowing, am I being obedient to the Holy Spirit?
Yes.
Am I creating great art? And what
Right.
sucked the life out of me was watching my friends choose to dull their creativity.
Totally.
You get her water. Thanks, dude.
Every time I start talking about this,
This happens.
my throat
Well,
gets
it's
like,
funny because I
Interesting.
talked to somebody about just like
Yeah, he's grabbing you in.
us leading this church, you know, and we've kind of, at first we were like, we're going to lead this church for 20 years. And then we were like, we can't really say that because we don't know, like, it
Yeah.
could be longer than that. It could be shorter than that.
Right.
Like, we don't know what God wants to do. But then now, and I was explaining this to somebody a different day or a while ago of the only way that I can see Jenaye and I like stepping into something different is if all of a sudden there were constructs that the church had or our denomination had or that people had that we felt like we had to lose ourselves to keep those constructs.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would
Exactly.
struggle, you know, but our church has been so gracious
Yeah.
in growing with us. And
and some
and-
people thrive under those constructs.
Exactly.
Totally. And I don't
Like, and
condone
that's
and
not-
we need that. We
Yeah.
need
But
that.
you leaving the construct of that is not you saying that's wrong.
Exactly.
It's
And
saying
it's not
for
a
what God has
threat
called me
either.
to do. I always
Yeah.
say,
Yeah, we're not competing, nor are we
No.
hating and bashing.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
I always say I was trying to build a house and the tools that I felt like I was supposed to use were like screws and a screwdriver and they had hammer and nails. Like we could have built the house,
Yeah.
And it would have been fine.
but it wouldn't have been the right tools and
Exactly.
it wouldn't have
Yeah.
been the right way. Like,
Right.
so I just think it just breaks my heart to, with any industry, you could put this on anything,
Yeah,
but
right.
it's like, yes, there are ways to like make money. Yes, there are ways to go about business, but at the end of the day, what is the motivation of your
Yeah.
heart? And like, why do you care so much about what kills me is like when somebody breaks the mold and does something like when Maverick City came out, right? Then everybody started writing songs like Maverick City.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or like when Hillsong started making songs, then everyone started writing songs like Hillsong, which is not saying that's a bad thing. Those are very anthematic, like powerful, brilliant
Yes.
way of
Yeah.
like writing worship. But there are people that are called to be pioneers of things. And there
Tip
are
of the
people that are
spear.
called to, you know, be a little bit behind that or whatever, or steward what the pioneers do.
Totally.
And so I just think there are sacrifices that come with that. And instead of looking at somebody and automatically thinking like, oh, you know, she wrote a breakup album, she must be like in the Illuminati now. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. The comment section on YouTube goes pretty extreme.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the Christian people that are commenting the most.
You know
Yeah,
what I
right.
say
But
with
you just
that?
can't listen
Anything
to
like
that.
that.
Oh,
I
yeah,
say,
yeah.
oh man, that's evidence of idle hands. It always
oh,
is.
yeah,
It
totally,
is just
totally.
like, go serve.
Yeah.
Go serve somewhere, anywhere.
Yeah.
Serve someone
Yeah,
else.
yeah. But
stop
we've
having
just
idle
gotten to a
hands.
point where we genuinely have blinders on.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
only
you have
trust
to. You have
we only
to.
trust a certain amount of people with our
Yep.
dreams.
Yep.
We only trust a certain amount of people with like what God's asking us to do. And I mean, we've moved 4 times in the last 5 years.
Yes.
And we've had people say stuff to us about that as well. Like, oh, you guys, must have issues.
You
guys must not
put
be
yourself
able to.
in a very vulnerable position, following the grace of God when
Yeah.
He has
Oh,
called
yeah.
you to a very obscure, not normal, out of the box, hopefully at the end of the day, life changing for a lot of
Right.
people kind of life. And we've just chosen to go the narrow path.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this
So-
is go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, like, to people listening, because we're talking like friends now and just like
Oh, yeah.
being really
Yeah.
open about
Yeah.
it. But there is something in our culture right now that, and it's grown, that people feel like they have a right to an opinion on people's lives and decisions and what God is or isn't speaking to them, and this liberty
Totally.
to like go after people's character and motivation. And I get that it's like the cultural thing to do in the comments, but it's beneath like a follower of Jesus. And we have to recognize
totally.
when the spirit of the world is doing one thing and saying like, hey, just because this has been permissible in our culture, and the lines that it just gets into the church so easily. And I just reminding followers of Jesus of like, he gave us a better way on how to love each other and how to conduct ourselves. And I think sometimes we just need reminded, like, we aren't the people that get in the sty with the pigs and slug it out. Like, we stay above that fray.
Yeah.
You know, if we really want to represent Christ in what we do. So,
I mean, it's like what this whole podcast is, like, live a highly unlikely life, which is not stooping to the level of those around you.
Yeah.
And do the highly unlikely thing, which is usually obedience to the Lord. And that's just the theme of your guys' life, which I think is so beautiful.
And it's like if he's brought us this far and he's told us to make this many decisions that are
He's
so
come through every time.
countercultural
Yeah.
and so like, I just think, why would he take us through all of this to not make it make sense at some point?
Yeah.
It might not look like what we think, but it's like, why would you give us these songs? Like, why would you? I even said the other day, like, what if the dream that God gave me for my life, like my daughter will fulfill? Like, you have no idea.
You don't know.
You have no idea. So I just think every day we look at each other and we go, you still feel good about this? You still feel good about
it's an
this?
everyday check-in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have to really just stay.
Yeah, it can get lonely out there if you don't
Yeah.
check in. Like, you
Yeah.
good?
Stay
Oh, you're
conscious
hurting
of
today?
that.
Okay, I'll take the lead with Machete as we go
Yeah.
up. Like, we each kind of take lead. Like,
Yeah.
when she's kind of down a little bit, I'm good. When I'm down, she's good.
Yeah.
Pretty
you
cool how
take
that works.
turns.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
the Lord's
Yeah.
sovereignty over that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the encouragement is that your guys' willingness to, I'm going to be a real clever pastor right now.
Do it.
Your courage to follow through on what God has called you to do is going to give other people the courage to follow you once you make it through. You
Wow,
know,
That's good.
how you
Yeah.
can rhyme things.
but
That's
I
good.
really believe that. I'm not even just trying to be like tweetable.
No, I
I'm
know.
just saying,
Yeah.
like, your courage right now to follow through when nobody else is doing it
1000%.
eventually
Yeah,
is
that's
going to
right.
give other people permission.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
so
Thank
walk
you for
through the
that.
same
That's
door.
encouraging. Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys' authenticity. Is what we just like about you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Same. We love talking to you guys, and thanks for giving us the space to.
Yeah, this was so much
Yeah,
fun.
we don't get
Yes.
to talk about this very much. Feels like we're still very hidden. So
Yeah.
when
But
we
this
get little
feels like
little
the-
moments to
yeah.
put our face in the sun, we're
This
like, oh,
was
this
right
is
though.
nice.
This was very encouraging to us.
Yeah,
And thank you for
good.
listening to our story.
Oh, yeah.
And let me just highlight this. You guys are the greatest pastors ever.
thanks, man.
We've heard of everything about, I mean, we've been able to meet and hang out a little bit
Yeah,
like
yeah.
my dad's events and outside of this. But you guys and your team have taken such great care of us.
good.
And the church has been incredibly welcoming.
that's
And
great.
I will say the crepes are better than what I
Oh,
even heard
your
them
dad
hyped up
loves
to be.
those crepes.
Yeah.
I got the Nutella
Crepes the
one.
real deal.
Oh my gosh. Is this podcast going to get over in enough time for me to go get another one?
Yeah,
Is what I'm
we got
thinking.
time.
But thank you guys for just hosting us. And
Yeah, we
church,
love
thank
you
you for
guys.
taking such great care of us this week.
Proud of you.
Yeah. It's
We do
great.
have to go because we have to go get a sneak peek of Holly's music. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry guys.
Too
Maybe
bad
you can
so
listen
sad
to it
everyone
in a
else.
little bit
Yeah.
for those listening.
All right. You want me to wrap it up? All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining in on this episode. If you think someone will be encouraged by it, please share it with them. And it helps out the podcast if you rate, subscribe, all the things we say every time we end. So thank you for being with us. See you next time.
Bye.
See you.